Believe what you wish, or if you wish, believe not. But there is a child who sleeps and dreams. On that winter's eve, of the day the faithful hold sacred, I walked alone down an old forgotten lane. Ashen skies and barren branches my only shield against that season's chill. Silent stone wall fences along the path my only guides to lead me away from a world turned upside down, inside out, torn and tattered. Christmas passed so long ago, its joys now too painful to remember. Out ahead, a world unseen and undiscovered, veiled behind a curtain of gently falling snow. Whatever lay beyond, I prayed it had no pain, no memories, and perhaps just oblivion. But fate, or maybe Providence, overruled my lonely quest. Out of the frozen mist ahead appeared a point of light. It seemed to drop from the heavens like a falling star, but instead of flaming out before impacting the ground, its brightness only grew and then came forward directly towards me. My instincts commanded I turn and run, but my feet refused to obey. I stood there frozen in fear, awaiting calamity. Then suddenly, as it came out from the mist and the snow, the brightness focused into something I could make out. It was a lantern, an ancient lantern lit by a single candle. It was carried by a shadow, a huge shadow. As it drew closer, that shadow focused into a man, a huge man, sturdy in build. Finally, once within a few feet from me, I could see him clearly in the light he carried. His well-worn hat, cloak, and boots seemed a comfortable fit, just as the weathered lines on his face. But his eyes, his dark, piercing, tired eyes, told me this weary soul had traveled long and far. I gave him a congenial nod as my feet once again obeyed my intentions to continue my journey alone. Such was not his plan, as he stood as stone in my path, held out his hand in greeting, and gleefully exclaimed, "Merry Christmas, sir!" In spite of this incredible spectacle that played out before me, I did not share his cheer nor his view of the season. I wished to be alone and to continue on my way. "Good day to you, sir," I curtly answered as I stepped around him. But the darkness in my heart compelled me to stop. With as cold a response as I could portray, I added, "Forgive me, sir, if I do not share your sentiments for this jaded season, nor do I believe in your pointless superstitions wrapped around this silly holiday you call Christmas." "I forgive you," he calmly answered. "Very well, if so you say," I said quite rudely. "Again I say good day, as I must be on my way." With that, I turned from him and walked away. But a large, powerful, yet gentle hand clamped around my shoulder. Now, in anger, I challenged, "Pardon me, sir, if you do not mind, my time is short." But his hand did not unclamp. I turned back at him in defiance and glared into his eyes, but he looked deeper into mine. "Yes, indeed, your time is short," he softly replied. "Not far beyond that veil of snow ahead is simply more of what you left behind. And out there, beyond your torn and tattered world, is the cold and lonely end of the life you chose to cast away." "Just who do you think you are?" I demanded. "Who are you to speak such offense to one you do not know?" "Offense? Oh, no. None intended. Then he laughed with a laugh that echoed through the falling snow. Who do I think I am? He asked, still chuckling. Then he took a somber tone. Just like you, I am a man who threw his life away only years and years ago. I was an angry young man. I was greedy. I envied those who had more than I, those who had more wealth, more power. To get a piece of what they had, I betrayed a friend. For no more than a pocket full of wealth, I cost my friend his life. Did you know my friend? Have you heard of the man? I believe you have, but not as the man I knew. Ever since the day he passed from my sight, the world has called him many names. To me, he was just a man, a simple carpenter, a good friend. But he possessed more wealth, more power than neither you nor I could gather if we lived 1,000 lifetimes. It was not the wealth of gold or silver, nor the power of empires, nothing you could hold or wield in your hand. His wealth was in his heart, his power in his words. At a time when the world could not have been darker, my friend stood tall like the brightest beacon in the darkest night. When despots ruled with swords and chains, he taught us to love. When the self-righteous judged, he taught us to judge not, and instead forgive. When the very thought of freedom was ruled an act of treason, he let us know our souls were free. Yes, he talked of God, his Father, the Father of us all. He talked of a God of joy, a God of hope, a God of love, a God who made us free. Over the centuries, they called him many things. They called him Savior, Messiah, Son of God, King of Kings. I just called him friend. Believe what you wish, or if you wish, believe not. But know this, my wandering friend, whoever he was, he showed us joy, he gave us hope, he taught us to love. In those darkest times, the darkness ruled and the darkness judged, and that beacon of light the darkness feared. Angry, greedy, envious, and for 30 silver coins I betrayed him. They took him away and snuffed out the light. He forgave me, you know. He forgave all who turned on him. He said we just didn't know what we were doing. Forgiven, perhaps, but sadly, no absolution have I found. Instead, I've been walking these roads for 2,000 years, carrying this lantern with this light, his light, to brighten the way for those who cannot, will not see. For those like you who lost their way. Come, turn around, my friend, and walk with me. With this lantern, I will light your way to where you need to go. It's not out in the darkness beyond, it's back from where you came. Well, I was never one to believe in magic or anything at all I could not see or hold in my hand. I was not lost. I knew exactly where I was going, and there was nothing that man could say that could make me turn around and go back. There was nothing he could say, but there was certainly something he could do. And just then, he did it. Maybe it was some sort of trick he played on my mind. Who knows? Maybe I was dreaming. Maybe, just maybe, it was magic. A sudden wind came up from the ground. The snow blew and swirled around us. It felt like we were lifted and maybe turned around. I couldn't tell for sure. I couldn't see where I was, nor where I was going. That huge man was still there, his hand still clamped around my shoulder. His lantern's single candle pushed back the darkness around us, but I could not see beyond the swirling, twirling wall of blowing snow. Were we moving somewhere, somehow? Were we flying, perhaps? Or was it just the wind blowing beneath and all around us? The wind blew faster and faster. It howled louder and louder. The air turned bone chilling cold. My dark, melancholy mood turned to deathly fear. as all my senses were pushed to the ends of their limits. Finally, I screamed at the man, "Stop this!" And he did. The wind stopped. The veil of snow disappeared, and a glowing full moon ruled the sky. The air was crispy cold and stung my nose and lungs as I drew in a long breath of calm. But all fear was gone. Instead, bewilderment captured my brain. What just happened? Where was I? The huge lantern carrier answered before I could speak the words. He matter-of-factly responded to my obvious wonderment. Perhaps you should be asking when instead of where, although you're about to find both answers. Come, around this turn in the road, you shall see. Finally, he released my shoulder, and I followed. I timidly shadowed behind him, not all certain I wanted those answers. But once around that road's bend, I knew right exactly where and unexplainably when I was. I was home. Not the home I walked away from a few miles back down the road a couple of hours ago. It was home 1,000 miles away, and half a century ago. There before me, in the clear, bright moonlight, sat the barns and barnyard of what seemed another lifetime, exactly as I remembered. This time I did manage to stammer out my next question. How did you do this? This can't be. Oh, I don't know, he responded, shrugging off the question. Who knows how all the ways of existence works? I sure don't, and I've been wandering through space and time for 2 millennia. I just knew you had to return to this place and this time to get your bearings corrected. You're lost. You need to go home. And I brought you here to find your way. He lifted the chain on the barnyard gate and pushed it open. Let's go in here and see what we can find. There they were, all the old barns. Those, as far as I knew, no longer stood. But there they were, every board and beam and shingle. All there. All the old tractors and machinery there as well. And, most unbelievable of all, there was the old cow I called 17. The hounds, Rambler and Zeke. My favorite terriers, Pete and Nicodemus. And Charlie the cat with all his descendants. I had no idea how, nor the wildest guess why, but I was home. Then, the light bearer lifted his finger to the far end of the barnyard as my long-lost menagerie pranced away in the direction he was pointing. There it stood, our old Dutch barn in all its grand antiquity, the center of a scene fit for the most beautiful of Christmas cards. Just in the front opening, the animals gathered around something giving off a bright light. What it was, I could not tell. I could not see through the herd and the crowd of people. People? I looked again at the mysterious light bearer, and again he knew my question. Go on, he said, nudging me forward. Go on and be with your family for a moment. And remember. There stood my parents, grandparents, brothers, old neighbors, old friends, and hired hands from long ago. They opened their circle and let me in. I stood among them and was one with them once again. And then I saw what they were gathered around. There in a manger, wrapped in a warm blanket, was an infant child. And then I understood. And the light bearer knew. He stood among the circle of family and said, "This is family. This is home." He adoringly looked at the child and said, "And he is Christmas. He is the Son of us all, from the Father of us all. All three, family, home, Christmas, are one. It is not a time. It is not a place. You carry it with you wherever you go, whenever you are, always. Sometimes you push it back into the far corners of your mind and into the darkest caverns of your heart. Bring it out. Light it up. There may be a time when this is all you have left. Cherish it. Celebrate it. And keep it always, for it shall keep you." Once again his hand was on my shoulder, but not clamped, just gently and assuringly there. "Come," he said, "let's get you back to where I found you." "No," said I. "No?" he asked. "Not back to your journey into oblivion?" "No. I'd like to go home now. I want to go home to my little house on my little street, my little town, where my wife is, where my children, well, where I can call my children, call my grandchild, hold my cat. There, where I was before I got lost." "Well," he says, "as long as you know where, and when, and why." This time there was no blinding snow or howling wind. I blinked, and there I was standing at my front door. "What? No dramatic flight through space and time?" I asked. He shrugged. "No need now, you figured it out. Jaded season, pointless superstitions, silly holiday? What were you thinking?" "Well, you got it now." Then I asked, "How'd you do all this? How'd you know where to take me and who to see?" He smirked. "I didn't do much of anything. Magicians use smoke and mirrors. I use wind and snow. You did all the rest. I sort of just went along for the ride." Then there was just one more question I simply had to ask. "Forgive me for asking, but did you by any chance at one time read Dickens' A Christmas Carol?" He broke into a hearty, bellowing laugh, and snow once again began to fall. From somewhere in the night, church bells began to ring. "Read it," he bellowed. "Where do you think Charlie got the idea? He was just as lost as you." I tried to invite him in for a Christmas toast, but he would not stop laughing, and then the big man blurred into a shadow again. Then, through the snow, all I could see of the lantern was a sharp point of light that rose back up into the sky and out of sight. And just then, I couldn't help myself. I boldly, joyfully, unabashedly called out, "Safe journey, my friend, and Merry Christmas." Believe what you will, or believe nothing at all. But there was a child who rose above us all and showed us joy, gave us hope, and taught us to love.